A Guten Erev Shabbos. Even a few months down the road, every so often, once in a while, I recall the great spectacle of the Queen's funeral last fall. There's something in most of us, I think, that has really a great appreciation for the pageantry, the symbolism, order, the protocol, all adding up to the solemnity of the occasion. When you think about it, why is it all necessary? Why the plans in advance? Why the uniforms pressed perfectly, the armor polished to a shining gleam, the perfect timing of the processions, and the inclusion of so much symbolism, including the RCMP in their red tunics and their campaign hats, riding their horses representing Canada? Why all this? And why did each soldier, each sailor, each driver have to polish all the buttons, cut their hair the same way, with such great precision? I don't think there was a question in anybody's mind. It was all about honoring the sovereign. That was the sum total of it. Honoring the sovereign, and all she stood for, which everyone mentioned, was mainly service, duty, loyalty, honor, and consistency. In other words, royalty. Now you have people, not here in Shul with us, but other people who ask us about our lifestyle. Why do you have to be different? Why do you have to stick out? You have your special foods, you have your special days, your special ways of dressing and talking and all these things. Why do you need them? Isn't it enough to just be a good person? It may be enough for others, but it's not enough for us. We have a special task. We, the Jewish people, are the honor guard, the royal palace guard of the sovereign, the eternal sovereign, the King of all kings, Lord of all lords, Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This Shabbos marks a major turn in our lives as we switch gears in a significant way in our annual cycle of Torah reading. We are changing gears from all the weeks of Torah reading since Simchas Torah, about a half a year ago, from reading through Chumash Bereshis, the book of Genesis, when we learned and got new insight, as we do every year, into Adam and Eve in the garden, Noah and the flood, Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel and Leah, Joseph and the brothers and their conflict, and ultimate resolution as their true brotherhood finally came through. In the last few weeks we read about a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph and embittered the lives of the Jewish people, the Bnei Yisrael, in slavery in Egypt. And we read the story of Pharaoh's hardening of heart, the 10 plagues, and ultimately the Jewish people's liberation from servitude and our trials and tribulations at the sea, other incidents, ultimately leading us to Mount Sinai, the revelation of Torah, as we stood together like one person with one heart in Rashi's explanation. All that, first half a year of Torah reading more or less, explained to us who we are and where we come from. With this week's Parsha, now, Mishpatim, we begin a different phase of understanding and engaging with Torah. We begin to understand what we do and where we go from here. Here is where we begin to learn, in the fuller sense, about our special national calling as the servants of the sovereign, a nation chosen and elevated to serve God in the unique Torah way. If you'll follow along and you keep count, or if you don't want to and you just want me to tally up all the mitzvahs for you, that's okay too. 53 mitzvahs in this week's portion. 53 mitzvot, 53 opportunities to connect with God and the Jewish people and the wisdom and the holiness that's part and parcel of Torah. Many of these mitzvahs in this week's parsha are intimately familiar to us: to lend money to the poor who need help, to rest on Shabbat, as we're going to do this Shabbos, to give the land of Israel its own Shabbat, a rest, a Shemitah, or a sabbatical year, and not plant crops, as people in Israel did last year, to follow the majority in legal decisions, not to eat non-kosher food, that judges are prohibited from bribe-taking and corruption, and so on. Others maybe don't come up every day, but they're still part of our world. A prohibition: we're not allowed to oppress a convert with words. Another prohibition: we're not allowed to lead other Jewish people into idol worship, and a whole raft of regulations for the legal profession, for the attorneys among us. It's a mitzvah that a court cannot hear one side of the case without the other litigant present in court, that the court is obligated to judge cases where damage was caused by negligence or willful theft, and so on. In a few weeks, we'll discuss with great intensity a mitzvah from this week's portion that we must remove all the chametz, all the leavened products from our ownership before Pesach, before Passover starts. Okay, we still have a little time on that one. So 53 mitzvahs, almost a tenth of all the mitzvahs in the entire Torah, this week's parsha, all part of our calling and our sacred mission. So let's highlight a take-home message from a long parsha with so many details. Let's emphasize one central value from this week's Torah reading, in a week where we have a wealth of information and lessons and instructions for life. Each one of them is important, each one is worthy of study and becoming part of our Jewish consciousness, from the laws to respect parents, I think the parents will be with me on that one, to the prohibitions that we have to respect a judge no matter what the court's verdict is, and the mitzvah to bring the first fruits of our crops to the temple in Jerusalem. Hopefully soon we'll have a temple, we'll be able to do this mitzvah again, even to the kosher laws that we mentioned. Seventh aliyah of this week's portion, chapter 24, verse 7. It's okay if you don't have your book, I'll read you what it says. It says, he took from the book of the covenant, speaking about Moshe, and he read it out loud so all the people could hear. Vayomru kol asher diber Hashem na'aseh v'nishma. The Jewish people said, quote, everything that God says we will do and we will understand. Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do it and we'll hear or try to understand. Does that make sense to you? We'll do it and then we'll understand. Usually, you want someone to do a favor for you or help you out with something. You first explain why you need their help or what favor you're asking. You make it clear what the reason is, and if they understand, they agree, they have time, it's like, okay, I'll do it. Here we have the opposite. Na'aseh v'nishma. What you ask us to do, what you want our Jewish life to be, we're in. God, we agree. We're not even necessarily aware of all the mitzvahs that there are. Remember, 53 in this week's portion, a few in last week's portion, maybe a dozen or so altogether. Thus far, there's still hundreds more to come. We don't even know what they are. But we're in. We'll do it. And as we accept them all, we'll try to understand, to appreciate what they mean, why they're important, and why they make a difference, and what is special and unique about our people that we're privileged to have so many chances in our lives to do good things, to bring holiness in the world, lift up our lives and the world around us to a higher level. When the 10 Commandments were given, as we heard in last week's portion, the whole shul stood up and we felt ourselves standing there at Mount Sinai, together with the whole Jewish people. You all remember those: thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, honor thy father and mother, keep the Sabbath. These are our top 10 list, which we keep posted right here in the shul. Right up there, you see it? Yeah, please be in touch if you have any questions about those. There's an argument recorded in the Talmud, no great surprise there, as to what was the Jewish people's response to all the thou shalts and the thou shalt nots. What did the Jewish people say when we were given the Torah, when we heard all these instructions? The argument is between Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Ishmael says, al hein hein, v'al lav lav. To the thou shalts, we said, yes, we shall. To the thou shalt nots, we answered, no, we won't, or we shan't, or whatever it says there. Rabbi Akiva understood it just slightly differently. Rabbi Akiva says, al hein hein, ve'al lav hein. To the thou shalts, we said, yes, we shall, we will. And to the thou shalt nots, we said, yes, we won't. What's the difference? Why is it even worth recording such a dispute? Never mind having it. Fact is, the two views express two slightly different aspects of what a mitzvah is. Each one is valuable. You often hear that a mitzvah is a good deed or a commandment. These are both true, but there's more. A mitzvah is a way a Jew connects. So, for example, a bar mitzvah, a bat mitzvah, reaches an age where they can choose for themselves to fulfill those mitzvahs that connect us. On the one hand, every mitzvah is a connection. Whether it's a thou shalt or a thou shalt not. Give tzedakah. You do it. Say Shema Yisrael. That's an action. Loving a fellow Jew. You have to do things that bring about that feeling. All these connect us with God and with each other. And the don'ts. Don't open your cell phone on Shabbos. Don't go to Timmy's. Don't steal or even mislead others. These also connect us with God. And that's what Rabbi Akiva was trying to bring out. Thou shalt? Yes, we will. Thou shalt not? Yes, we won't. Whatever it takes to connect to God. Do something, don't do something. What's the difference? Our answer is yes, we want to connect to you. Rabbi Ishmael, who looks at the mitzvahs as each having an effect on a different part of our lives, our day, our week, our experience. Thou shalt? Yes, we'll do it. Thou shalt not? No, we'll be careful to steer around this thing, which will not help us get where we need to go as Jews, as human beings. Rabbi Dov Ber, the Mezeritcher Maggid, says, we not only have to integrate these mitzvahs in our lives, we have to transmit them. Even when there's nobody to talk to, you can talk to yourself. That's certainly an important, worthwhile conversation to have. Maybe we should have more of those conversations, talking to ourselves. We have to transmit the values and actions of Torah, not just in the synagogue, not just at simchas, big major life cycle events where we're all dressed up in our fancy clothes. Every day, every moment, with everything we do. All of our lives can and ideally should reflect this astounding potential that each and every one of us has. So let's take all the inspiration, all the power of this Shabbos and this Parsha, and make every day, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, next week, the week after, and all the years to come into celebrations of transforming the world, turning it into good, revealing the good that we know is there, sharing the blessings with each other and with others, and please God, may it always be in good health. May we witness ever-increasing peace in the world, peace among ourselves, and perhaps most important, peace within ourselves. Shabbat Shalom.